So this is music as a cellular service, a concept I came up with a couple years ago. Basically create a music-only cellular service plan. It's just that simple. But here's the explanation of how it could possibly be feasible. So we have AT&T, basically controls the telecommunications networks. We have them create a music data range that splits the ranges between regular entertainment-based product versus music product and apps and all that versus music. And what happens is that creates two different kinds of data plans. And we want to do this because we want to be able to give options to the customer. Because number one, we get all the customers we were already going to get by creating, this package once they get repackaged. But then we also get a totally new demographic of customer, which are the ones that don't want that much cellular service or can't afford it, but they do want access to music. And they want access to music everywhere. So then we have music only becomes an option, and also the bundle can be rebundled so that you can have music put back into the bundle. But this time around, the music is part of the package. So when they buy the cell phone service, because AT&T has now created this split allocation, when they access the music portion of their bundle, they're going to get a really good quality, one-size-fits-all music service, which is really all this whole music industry is about, is who's getting the race to this universal system for music. And that's what we're talking about next. The regular bundle is enhanced because of the music, and then we have the price-reduced version that becomes a secondary option, which is critical to this because that also provides the funding for an infrastructure in the music industry. So we say something to the effect of, this music-only data service is $5.99, and when you bundle it with a package, that's where they make their own deals up to have your own idea of what to charge for a data plus music data package. The next critical part of this is the universal profile. So that's where Sonos comes into play. Sonos has already been very hard at work developing a system where they can provide all the streaming services and basically all kinds of music you could ever imagine in one place. That is what Sonos has really been about. You say, what is Sonos for? Well, really, they secretly have been creating all of these structures so that they can have Pandora, Spotify, Amazon Music, anybody you can think of, YouTube, even up into your own playlists on your own music servers, playing through the Sonos system. And so because you have all this stuff flowing through Sonos already, they are the logical step. They're the sort of umbrella system for the lesser companies that are the streaming services. And so they provide the universal profile. The universal profile is very important because it's going to be the thing that, since you're a subscriber, anywhere you go, your entirety of music collection will always be available anywhere you go. And that's because it's going to utilize allocated plans versus having to do hotspots of, there's a Wi-Fi over here so I can access the internet, or there's a cellular plan that I use but it has limited data, or whatever the scenario, maybe only at home. This opens up the Pandora's box so that you can have access to this, not only music everywhere, but all music everywhere. So it's all music everywhere. I mean, that is the ultimate goal of this music industry, so that we have as many listeners, and they would call them customers, we have as many people enjoying music as possible anywhere, of course, without being obnoxious about it. But so you have one for the gym, and you have one for the work when you have time, and you have one for the car, you have multiple for the home, and scenarios like that, one for the park. And each of these scenarios has your playlist. Sonos has this pretty well mapped out already. They just need more application support and extended services and features. But they have this idea architected pretty well. You're probably not going to beat them. I doubt this idea of music as a cellular service will ever see light of day, but they've done a really outstanding job of creating this idea of individualized music everywhere system. The only thing that's missing for them is the cellular part, so that you can go everywhere in the world and have access to your network of music. And there's a lot more to say about all these topics, but I did want to just kind of give a brief overview of this idea. So the next part of this is Apple, Sony, Samsung, to name a few. These developers get together to develop the hardware and infrastructure. We don't need Apple to create its own ecosystem and then Sony to create its own ecosystem or have their own players or whatever, and Samsung, because the world's headed automatically toward internet radio. It all defaulted basically towards YouTube because YouTube is free. YouTube is not free for the people who make it, the making the music in other words, and YouTube relies on an advertising model, and so it's not free because you're either going to pay to not see advertising or you're going to pay because you're witnessing advertising, and so you're having to deal with interruptions in your musical experience. So the point of the allocation, again, of the music-only service is there's none of this interruption. Perhaps there could be a tiered plan, similar, since they all do it, where there are ad-supported options and you would get a lower rate. But really, the beauty of the plan is the plan itself. We don't need the advertisers to interrupt the listening experience, because now we have a direct way to go and reach the customer. They pay $5.99 a month. They don't have to worry about advertising. They get access to all the music in the world. So they develop, through cellular phones and other kinds of speakers, the kind of hardware that will best accentuate the potential of this system. Now we're talking about the legacy stuff that's still really remarkable and incredible, and as well as the emerging stuff, the augmented reality, the new environments, the atmospheric listening, new kinds of Dolby, even having your own AI versions. That's a software thing. They can all get that sorted somewhere in the mix. But essentially, the way to restructure the music industry is in these 3 simple pages that you create a feed. You then can access all the music in the world. You then can access all the music from everywhere in the world. And also, you don't necessarily interrupt the status quo because you're going to have the same package available for the people who are already using cellular bundles, which is a huge number of people. All we're doing here is we're giving those people an additional bonus of having the music without having to pay necessarily any more. And we're also giving the people who wouldn't necessarily have this as an option the opportunity to have music everywhere, all music possible. And we're adding the additional bonus of having the hardware developers be able to show their stuff, which culminates in the cellular boombox. Because what's the point of having music everywhere in the world if you can't have the world's greatest music listening playback device? So that's the key. Now the cell phone is rethought one more time. What's really driving the entertainment aspect of phones is still movies and music and stuff like that. So on this music, this is the final part of this, on this music-only cellular system, there has to be a small percentage of data allocation to be able to operate the Sonos universal profile. And what this profile also does is it will trace the DDEX information, which is important information used to track the tracks, the music tracks themselves, so that they can be illustrated as being played or how many times and things like that. So that's where bigger organizations can have numbers to see what's really going on. So if you think about what could potentially exist in the future, you go to a place like Verizon or Metro PCS or Cricket or whatever you could think of to get your cell service, and they say, well, for $5.99, would you like music as a cellular service, which gives you access to Pandora and Spotify and YouTube and Amazon, but with the added bonus of anywhere access. That's the wrap up on the significance of and the simplicity of the idea behind music as a cellular service.